Hi, this is Universal Athlete Chris Tuttle, IFBB Pro. I'm making this little short video about how my path has changed for training. Over the years, I've been sidelined with a lot of injuries, and I've never been one to really train very heavy, very explosive, very sloppy form. I've always been, very careful, but yet I still seem to get injured, and that's really where my genetics, falter. I always used to make the joke I'm not genetically durable. In reality, I used to train very heavy, just kind of like you see a lot of the videos of guys just pounding heavy weights on the squat bar, bench press. Never been super strong, but training heavier, being more explosive, kind of having more like that animal mentality in the gym. That kind of all came to a stop real quick, really around age 25. Partially tore the long head of my tricep doing pullovers. And then getting ready for junior nationals, I tore the left semimembranosus, tendinosis of my hamstring doing standing leg curls. I felt like a bubble behind my knee. Almost felt like when your knee wants to pop. And I wasn't going that very heavy, and I kept curling, and I was reaching towards failure, and it felt like a shotgun shot me in the back of the butt, and it was bruised, and I couldn't even curl my leg back at all for at least 4 or 5 months, but yet I could still do deadlifts. Interesting enough, I just couldn't do anything that revolved pulling my heel or causing lower leg flexion. And then after that, hurt my lower back a few times, tendinitis, and then I tore my pec. March 2013, my left bench pressing. I was warming up, and I never do bench press first. I hardly ever even do bench press at that point in time. And I decided to start with bench. And I came down and I warm at 135 and like 185. I'm like, my body just feels kind of cold that day. It didn't feel very good. Put 225 on there, doing a couple reps. And then I'm like, you know what, before I go heavier, I'm going to do 225 again. And I come down to 225 and I was doing rest, pause. And I went to come down and push. And it was the most excruciating pain from the left, middle of my left pec all the way to the top of my left bicep. And I just let go of the bar on my chest. And all my friends were laughing, thought I was making a joke, because it's only 225. But no, sure enough, it was a mild pec tear. It was never, I never had to get an MRI or anything like that. My father's a physician, he looked at it, and there wasn't too much trauma. It was mostly like a partial tear. I don't even know if you'd call it a full rupture. But I mean, it still gives me problems, still scar tissue in there. And it was a long recovery. I mean, for 2 or 3 months, I couldn't be explosive. And even now when I do chest, I still can't move weight quickly. I have to be very cautious and careful. And even when I go heavier around 7 reps or below, the pec lets me know, gives me a warning. So that brings to the point a lot of people say, well, if you can't go heavy, you can't explode, you can't be an animal in the gym, how are you going to grow? Well, it's funny, it's every time I got injured with a particular body part or muscle group like the hamstrings, that following year, my hamstrings got the best they've ever been, because it forced me to do more thinking and focusing with each exercise, more of a mind-muscle connection than I ever had before. Before, I was just concerned about cranking weight, getting reps, burning it out, doing drop sets. Or now I had to take a lot of that same principle and more apply it to drop sets, burning it out, being more careful, using good technique, eliminating momentum, not bouncing, not exploding, just bring that muscle in itself to absolute failure versus kind of bring an overall number of muscle groups to failure in a movement. Like, for example, like when you're doing chest, I really try to focus on fatiguing my chest and pushing my arms across instead of trying to incorporate my lats, my triceps, my shoulders, or trying to push all my might. So, and same with my pec. Right after the pec tear, my chest got better and better and better. Well, I mean, once it got better, and I was able to press with some at least decent weight, my chest just got better and better because I had to stop momentum. When I came down, I had to like press carefully, so I couldn't do that. I mean, everybody knows that once you rest pauses are a lot harder than, getting momentum with a bar. So that's one thing that, like, is interesting enough. A lot of people think, oh, injuries, I got to give up. I'm not going to be able to grow. I can't go heavy. I can't ever grow any muscle now. That's not true. A lot of times, like, there's so many theory out there and a lot of, scientific studies, supporting the fact that you need a certain repetition range with a certain percent of 1 rep max to be able to utilize muscle hypertrophy, stimulate those necessary hormones in your body during the training session to create an anabolism. But I have had to be able to get around all that. I mean, even my leg training now, I had a bad IT band injury, and I can't back squat anymore. That's the only exercise that seems to keep bringing the injury back. My hips are a little malaligned, and I think that's a lot cause of it as I get heavier and heavier. And I used to be able to do much heavier weight, and now I have to do everything backwards. I'll do leg extension, I'll do lunges, and I'll do like single leg stuff, and then I'll end up doing safety bar squat, front squat, or heavier leg press at the end. That way the quads are fully warm, fully fatigued, and I still stay in the rep range of, higher reps to failure. And when I use a spot, I always make sure the spot helps me with the weight, and the only thing that I focus on is the technique. So it's hard sometimes in the squat when you're going all the way down, you're starting to fail, but you're starting to lean forward, incorporate more your hips. But I try to keep myself as perfectly straight as I can, and the spot just assists me as I can continue to reach muscular failure. And I kind of adopted that every which way because we're all one injury away from it being done completely. And when I did the pec, I actually really believed at that point, I'm like, this could be it, and this could be it forever, and I have to go find another hobby or something. But I didn't give up, and I kept going through it. So those of you out there who, a lot of these big bodybuilders and professionals who lift so much weight and heavy, and it's very admirable, and I wish I could do it, but I can't. And the vast majority of people can't do that, but they can relate to more my situation. Lifting mediocre weight and kind of learning how to work with what you got in your body and preventing injury and continuously growing without having to lift those crazy weights. As you can still improve your body. So I really tell everybody, is just, if you're one of those people that gets injured a lot, really focus on that muscle that's being worked. And one thing too, I hate when people have misconceptions where like barbell row is the best mass builder for back. I think that's crap. Like deadlift's the best exercise to thicken your back. I mean, if deadlift was, considering my back is probably not the best body part of my body, the worst shot in my body, my rear double bicep, things like that, you would think that me all those years doing deadlifts every week for 8 years, my back would be great because I used to be able to deadlift good weight. And I'd go heavy, I could do deadlift for reps. In a strongman meet, I did an axle wheel. I did 400-pound axle wheel, 28 reps in 60 seconds. And we had to put it down and pick it up, put it down and pick it up. And so like I always had a strong back, strong hips. But I mean, if that exercise was universally the best back exercise, my back would be great. It's not. So you got to find out what exercise works best for you individually. I mean, a lot of times I go to the gym with my friends and we'd be doing an exercise for upper back, and he's like, oh, I'm not feeling it. I'm like, oh, I am. Well, it's a good sign that either A, he's not doing it right, the technique, or B, it's just not really his fit. Some exercises, certain people feel certain things, certain other areas, and that's one thing that people got to realize is there's no like set staple of like, this is the most best exercise. Like, you can't grow legs because of this. It's not true. Everybody's body's different. And then I remember Dorian Yates saying that he didn't really squat the last 3 or 4 years of him being Olympia. And that goes to show that like people always say squat, you have to squat to get big legs. Well, clearly you don't. So you got to kind of listen to your own body, focus on the technique and the muscle being worked, work the muscle, not the movement if you're bodybuilding, and really look outside the box when it comes to exercises.